Have you ever found something that was never meant for you? Something that was hidden so well, it felt like the universe had to intervene for you to discover it? This is not just a story about a letter. It's about timing, about secrets buried deep, and how sometimes the past refuses to stay silent. I was cleaning out an old drawer, nothing special, just tossing out dusty notebooks, expired receipts, the kind of clutter you don't even think twice about. But then I saw it, folded, yellowed, torn at the edges, and I almost missed it. A single piece of paper, tucked between 2 pages of a forgotten book, not addressed to anyone, no envelope, just waiting. At first I hesitated. It felt wrong, like opening a door that was never supposed to be opened. But there was something about it, something that pulled me in. The handwriting. I recognized it instantly. It was hers. And in that moment, the air shifted. This wasn't just a letter. This was a confession, frozen in time. A message meant for no one. Or maybe, just not for me. But fate has a funny way of putting things in your hands when you least expect it. I didn't look for this. I didn't go digging through her things. This letter found me, and what it said, what I read in those lines, it changed everything I thought I knew about her, about us, about what really happened that night. The first sentence still echoes in my mind. If you're reading this, it means I never found the courage to say it face to face. You ever feel your chest tighten just from words on paper? Because I did. She poured her soul into that letter, her regrets, her apologies, her hopes that I would one day forgive her, even if she never got to ask. It was everything I had been needing to hear, but too proud to admit. And now here it was. Too late to respond, too late to fix anything, too late to even say goodbye properly. But the crazy thing? The letter wasn't just about me. There were things in it I never expected. Names, places, moments I thought only I remembered, and some I wish I could forget. There were pieces of a truth she carried alone, a truth that maybe she wanted me to find. And the more I read, the more I realized. This wasn't just her goodbye. This was her confession, her release, her final act of vulnerability. And now, I was holding it. Right there, between my fingers, was the weight of everything we never said. So I ask you again, what would you do if a letter like this landed in your hands? Would you read it? Would you pretend you never saw it? Would you burn it, or keep it forever? Because some truths, once revealed, can't be unseen. And this was one of them. If you've ever stumbled upon something that wasn't meant for you, but it changed you anyway, then this story is yours too. Stick around until the end, because somewhere in this, you're going to see a part of yourself. And if it hits you, if it makes you feel something, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with us. Because on this channel, we don't just tell stories. We reveal the ones that were never supposed to be told, but always needed to be heard. I didn't plan to find anything that day. I was just moving boxes, packing up the last of the memories from a place that once felt like home. There was dust on everything, old books with broken spines, a half-used notebook she used to sketch in. It was supposed to be just another object, one more thing to throw in a box and forget. But then, something slipped out between the pages, folded, soft, aged by time. A letter. My first instinct was hesitation. A part of me wanted to put it right back where I found it. It felt sacred, too intimate to touch. But something deeper, something I couldn't explain, made me open it. And from the second I saw the handwriting, I knew exactly who it was from. It was her. That handwriting was etched in my memory. How could I ever forget it? Slanted slightly to the right, looping on the Y's, always too much pressure on the periods. Even after all this time, it felt like hearing her voice again, like she was sitting across from me in that dimly lit room, finally saying all the things she never could. And right at the top, written in ink that had begun to fade, was a sentence that hit harder than anything I'd ever read. If you're reading this, it means I never found the courage to tell you face to face. I just sat there, holding it. The weight of those words was unreal. The air in the room got heavy. You ever feel like the past just rushes back all at once? Not just memories, but regrets, questions, things you tried to bury. That's exactly what happened. It wasn't just a letter. It was a mirror, a reflection of everything we never said, all the secrets we held back, all the words we swallowed for the sake of pride, timing, fear. And now they were here, on paper, staring back at me. She wrote about moments I thought she forgot, about the night we didn't say goodbye properly, about the time she almost came back but changed her mind at the last minute, about dreams we planned together, and the reality she couldn't handle. Every paragraph cut deeper than the last, and yet I couldn't stop reading. I had to know how it ended. I needed to know how much of it was real, and how much was just memory rewriting itself over time. She said she never stopped thinking about me, that even when she moved on, a part of her stayed frozen in the version of us we never got to live. And I couldn't help but wonder, what if she had sent it? What if she had left it out in the open, just once? Would we have had another chance? Would any of this have turned out differently? But it was too late for what if, and maybe that's the cruelest part of love that never finishes. It leaves questions without answers, doors half closed, and words that arrive only after everything else is gone. Still, as I sat there, holding that letter, I felt something shift, a strange peace mixed with heartbreak, because even though it came late, and even though I was never supposed to read it, I finally heard what I had been needing for so long, and that was the moment everything changed. Each line felt like a pulse, like her voice was reaching through the paper and touching me for the last time. I could almost hear her, the tone of her voice, the way she would pause when emotions caught up with her, the way her hands would tremble just a bit when she was being honest. There, in that quiet space between ink and silence, I felt her again. She spoke of regrets, the kind that don't fade with time. She said she hated how she left, how sudden it was, how cold it must have felt from my side. She admitted she didn't leave because she stopped loving me. She left because she didn't know how to stay, because staying would have meant facing everything she was running from, including herself. She said she thought I'd be better off without the mess she brought with her, but she was wrong. The real mess was living in silence after she was gone. She confessed she used to write letters to me in her head every night for months. Apologies she rehearsed but never delivered. Truths she whispered into pillows instead of saying out loud. She said her biggest fear wasn't that I'd forget her. It was that I'd remember her only for the pain. And the longer I read, the harder it became to breathe. There were lines that shattered me. She said she came back once, that she stood across the street from the place we used to live, watched the lights on, saw someone else's shadow in the window, and turned around before knocking, because she was too late, or at least, she believed she was. I felt my chest cave in. That moment, what she described, was a scene I'd always imagined, and now I knew it actually happened. Our near reunion, stolen by fear and bad timing. It was the closest we ever got to fixing what was broken, and we didn't even know it. And then came the part that undid me. She wrote, "If I had known how to say all this when it mattered, maybe you'd still be the one reading this across the table, not across time." That sentence hit me like a train, because this wasn't just a goodbye letter. This was her attempt to rewrite the ending we never got to finish. I had waited so long for answers. Years, really. And suddenly here they were, right in front of me. Raw, painful, honest. This was the forgiveness I never received. The closure I had stopped hoping for. The words I had prayed she would say. Finally here. Too late to answer, but not too late to feel. And maybe that's what hurt the most. That she finally spoke when there was no one left to listen except a version of me she couldn't see anymore. A version of me that had been waiting, hurting, pretending to be fine while carrying the weight of her silence. So I sat there, letting the words sink in, letting them tear through the walls I had built, letting them fill the space she left behind. And as strange as it sounds, it was like she was there again, for one last moment, reaching across the space between us, asking for forgiveness not with her voice, but with her truth. If you've ever experienced something like this, if you've ever waited for an apology that never came, or carried the weight of unspoken words, leave a comment below. Just say, "I understand. You're not alone." Around here we all have a letter that was never sent, but needed to be read. After I finished reading the last line, I just sat there, silent, numb. Days passed and I couldn't speak about it. I couldn't even bring myself to tell anyone I'd found it. That letter, those pages, it wasn't just a message from her. It wasn't just words on paper. It was a mirror, held up to everything we were and everything we could have been. The letter wasn't only written for me. It was written for a version of us that no longer existed, a memory sealed away by time but somehow resurrected in ink. Every phrase felt like a whisper from a different timeline, one where we hadn't let pride win, one where we fought a little harder, loved a little louder, stayed. She didn't just apologize in that letter. She unraveled, Line by line, she let me see behind every silence we shared, every goodbye that came too fast. She talked about the days she cried in the car but never told me, how she replayed our last argument every night before bed. She said the hardest thing wasn't walking away, it was pretending it didn't destroy her. And then came the part that broke me. She said, maybe I left this letter on purpose. Maybe I needed you to find it one day, when it wouldn't hurt as much, or maybe when it would. I remember just staring at that sentence, over and over, my hands shaking, because deep down I realized she might have known. She might have known I'd come across it eventually. That fate would put it in front of me. At a time I needed answers more than I needed peace. You know, people talk about closure like it's a clean break, like it's something you find, tie up in a bow, and then move on. But this wasn't that. This was a wound being reopened with gentleness. This was a second goodbye, one I didn't know I needed. And the strange thing, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning of understanding, a moment where I could finally see what she never had the courage to say out loud. The truth is, this letter brought back every memory we buried, the smiles we forgot, the conversations we left hanging, the plans we swore we'd make happen, and never did. It was like being handed a scrapbook of everything we lost, but through her eyes. And there, buried between metaphors and apologies, was something I never thought I'd get again. Her voice. Not the voice I remembered arguing with, but the voice I fell in love with. Honest, scared, hopeful, still reaching for me across time. You ever wonder if someone wrote you something you were never supposed to see? What if that thing you've been waiting for, those final words, that explanation, that apology, is already out there, folded between pages, hidden in old boxes, sitting in a drawer you haven't opened in years? What if the universe has been trying to hand you your closure, but you were too busy surviving to notice? And what if that person, whoever they were, left that last piece of them behind, hoping someday you'd understand? That letter for me wasn't closure, it was connection. And somehow, it felt like we were sitting across from each other again. One last time. No yelling, no pain, just truth, just finally saying the things we never could. I don't know if she meant for me to carry that letter forever, or if she hoped I'd read it, cry, and let go. But what I do know is this: some truths are too big to stay buried. Some words will find their way, no matter how deep we hide them. And now I wonder, what if you have a letter like that too? What if someone wrote it, never sent it, but still hoped you'd find it? What would it say? What would you say back? There's no way to go back, no rewind button, no reset. We don't get to rewrite the past, no matter how badly we wish we could. But we do get something else, something just as powerful. We get to heal, we get to understand, we get to let go. And that letter, as unexpected as it was, became the beginning of my healing. She'll never know I found it. She'll never know what it did to me, how it cracked something open in me that had been shut tight for years. But somehow, I believe she felt it. Wherever she is, if she's still out there or just a memory held in time, I think a part of her always hoped I'd find it. Maybe not today, maybe not even in this lifetime, but eventually, when I was ready to listen, not just to her words, but to the silence between them. Some stories don't make sense until they're over. Some letters don't arrive when we want them to, but when we need them the most. And this was one of those. It came late, too late for second chances. Too late for a real goodbye, but not too late for truth. And maybe that's enough. It's strange how a folded piece of paper can hold so much weight, how ink and vulnerability, buried in a drawer, can change someone's entire understanding of what they lived. That letter made me see our story differently. It helped me realize that even though we were broken, we were real. Even though we didn't last, we mattered. And even though we didn't say the words in time, they were always there, just waiting to be heard. I still have the letter. I haven't put it away. I don't know if I ever will. It doesn't feel like something to archive. It feels alive, like it still breathes between the lines, like it still speaks when I need it to. And maybe in a way, that's what love really is. Not something we hold on to forever, but something we carry forward, something that shapes us, scars us, and sometimes sets us free. She was never supposed to know how much I needed those words, and I was never supposed to find them. But fate didn't ask permission. It just delivered, quietly, completely, in its own time. And now that I've read it, now that I've said these things out loud, I realize this wasn't the ending. It was a reminder that healing doesn't come in grand moments. It comes in pages, in pauses, in letters that arrive late, but still arrive. So I have to ask you, have you ever written something you never sent? Have you ever wished you could say one last thing, but didn't know how? Or maybe you've been waiting, like I was, for a sign, a message, a moment to understand it all. Because if this story found you, it's for a reason. If you watched this far, something in you needed to hear it. And if it did something to you, if it made you feel seen or understood, or even just less alone, leave a comment below. Tell me, it found me. Or maybe just type, I needed this. You never know who might read it and realize they're not the only one. This community is built on truth, on stories left unsaid, on goodbyes that came too late and letters that changed everything. Speaking of which, in the next video, I'm going to tell you a story that's even heavier. One where goodbye came too late, and someone's been carrying the weight ever since. The title, This Goodbye Came Too Late, and I've carried the weight ever since. You won't want to miss it. So if you felt anything here, share this with someone who needs it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Because what's coming, it's going to hit even deeper. This channel isn't about stories. It's about the feelings no one ever had the courage to say out loud. The truths we bury, the words we never send, the goodbyes that came too late. If you're carrying unspoken pain, if you've got wounds that never fully healed, if there's a part of you that still waits for the right words to find you, you've just found your place. Hit that subscribe button right now, because here we deliver the letters the world was never ready for, but always needed to read.